It's time for Who Watch, Time and Relative Blackness in Space.
Black girls have the box.
Hi everyone, it's Bayana, Connie, and Robin coming to you live from the Time Vortex.
Today we're discussing the 2019 New Year's special of Doctor Who Season 11, Resolution. In this episode, the Doctor runs into her favorite alien, Yaz gets introduced to what should be her future job, and Ryan deals with his dad. I didn't write this, so what should Yaz's future job be?
Have you not been in our Slack, girl?
No, because remember I couldn't watch it and I fell asleep, and then I had to watch it at work like 3 times so I could piece it together. So I didn't go in the Slack.
We've been talking about Yaz.
We'll get there. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
That makes
Which I think we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Talked about before.
Yeah.
You're right.
This was the first New Year's special that we've had in New Who, and I guess other than the End of Time Part 2, but I didn't watch live back then.
I think I was watching it live by then, but I don't remember watching the specials until they came on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just didn't understand the way the Doctor Who worked. And I was like, oh, it's the season finale.
Right. I feel that.
I didn't have DVR or something to tell me, which is why didn't I have DVR? It's weird. Season 4 was the first one that I watched live, and that's when they had all those specials, right?
Yeah, it is. I know that since this is the first one and usually they do Christmas, I was trying to figure out how I felt about it. I felt I generally am not a fan of the specials as a whole. I'm a fan of the tradition, but often the episodes are lacking. I think for me, it was just hard to watch on New Year's. I was too tired. And that can have to do with the fact that because we're doing this podcast, have to actually really, we can't just passively watch. Mm-hmm. But that was one of the only things I was wondering. I was is that, and this could just be me, you know what I mean? Because obviously there are a lot of different factors there, but I was is that a downfall to doing it on New Year's Day? Or is that just, I was exhausted?
I think, so there's two things. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, but I don't have traditional cable, but I have cable. I have YouTube TV, and it was tripping, and I couldn't watch until 9 p.m. I didn't get the East Coast feed, and I feel with the other one, I got an East Coast.
Yeah, usually I got the East Coast feed. That's true.
And so I don't know because I couldn't watch it.
Because BBC America usually just does the same times regardless. They don't really go by.
Yeah, and then it just replays 3 hours later.
Yeah.
But I went to look at 5 or 6 and it wasn't there. And then my DV, because I record them all, it wasn't recorded. So I had to wait until 9. And so I was definitely exhausted trying to watch it live at 9 p.m. on New Year's. But I think also for the Christmas specials, I feel like Christmas is more of a low energy holiday unless you're a kid. So you're spending all day kind of with your family sitting around, and then at and I feel it didn't come on at 9 then either. I don't know why I thought it would come on at 8 at the
well, yeah. It came on at 8.
It came on at 9.
Oh, it came on at
I don't know what happened with my YouTube. I think it was a YouTube TV problem. I really don't think it was a BBC America thing. Because it I
aired at 8.
I checked it again because I was what's going on? And it wasn't, and it was this is coming on at 9, and I didn't have I was did I miss it? Is it not live? Anyway, something happened there. 9 was way too late because I was falling asleep pretty much after the second, or by the second act, and was like hearing things but not really retaining them, or watching it but not really hearing it. Like I couldn't get both things happening at the same time. You know when you're tired, it's like my body was like, I can only do one or the other. You can see it and not retain any of the sound, or you can hear it and not retain anything that you're watching. You can only choose one. But I also feel like with Christmas, it's like more like there's more of a whimsy, and I don't know. I feel like there's more of a Christmas lore than there is for New Year's. So it felt like
I feel like they can only do this one time.
Well, no, because my thing is though, I feel like there are a lot of things you can do with New Year's, right? Like I felt like they're like when I first heard they were doing a New Year's special, right? Like when they were talking about a New Year's special, like my first thing went to like, oh, something's gonna go wrong with time. And, like, they didn't do that, but I don't think that's not a knock on what they didn't do. It's just more like there are other opportunities to do things in the future with it, because it's just such a, like, kind of pivotal moment for us, and they could play with that. So I thought that part was fine. I think, for me, I was just exhausted, so it was hard to then have to, like,
it literally,
like, oh, I'm supposed to do this thing.
Like I said, it took me, I had to watch it kind of piecemeal 3 times, and it took me, like, the third time to be like, oh, there's a lot of resolutions in here. Like the whole Ryan's dad I got, like new year, new me, trying to like do better and fix my mistakes. But then I was like, that's not enough of the episode to like be like, it's a New Year's themed episode. Like it was a large part of it, but it wasn't like, that wasn't what the monster was doing. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It took me a long time to understand like where that resolution theme fit into other places, and I still don't think it was as strong as it was with Ryan's dad and Ryan's relationship. So I think the other part was, I was really tired, but then I don't think that the episode, like the subject matter of the episode really leaned into like a New Year's kind of it was very subtle, and I don't think we watched the holiday specials for subtlety. Like I just don't that.
Yeah, I don't think that I personally needed it to do more with New Year's. I enjoyed what little it had. Like, it was clearly on New Year's Day, and the doctor took them around, and yada yada. So I don't think I necessarily needed more of that. But listen, I flew on a plane on New Year's Day, and then foolishly went to Target and Goodwill, and I really didn't think I was going to make it to 8 o'clock. I was just like, wow, I might just have to go to sleep and just catch it later. And I did watch it at 8, and it was fine. Like, the content of the episode was fine for me, and I didn't feel like, oh man, I'm going to go to sleep during this episode or anything. Considering how sleepy I was, like, it wouldn't have been a knock on the episode.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also, in terms of like our overall thoughts on it, I feel like I'm gonna rewatch this one, where there are many Christmas specials where I'm like, I don't know her.
I will say that like this is a solid episode.
Yeah,
like
I enjoyed it.
I think that like I definitely was like, oh, I could think of this as one that I actually
hate Dalek episodes. Like I just never like them. They just never what I am expecting or want, and it's just something I can't even describe what it is about Dalek episodes where I'm just like, meh. And so I was very shocked to come away from this episode like, I think I'm gonna rewatch that at some point. Like it's gonna be in my like rotation of episodes that I rewatch.
Yeah.
For me, as a New Year's episode, it was like, but as a Dalek episode, it was really good.
Okay, great. I'm glad that you said that, because I have a question about this. And was it just me and the way that I was watching it, which is that I had to watch it in like 3 separate sittings?
I'm already gonna say it was
but was it a Dalek episode? I was like, since when could you cut a Dalek into 3 pieces and have it come back? And like,
that's what I liked about it being a Dalek episode, was that it wasn't a Dalek episode. Like it was a Dalek
episode,
but like it was a Dalek. Like I want them to do more. Like I want them to expand where they've gone with the Dalek without like eye socks coming out of people's foreheads. Like I that they were able to do something new after they've had, like after 55 years, basically. Like I was happy that they were able to finally do something new that I was into while changing up, like, it was just this one Dalek. So I appreciated that, like, and I think maybe Nicole, somebody in our Slack said it, that, like, they were able to change up the lore of the Dalek without messing with all the other stuff that they've done with the Daleks recently. Like, this Dalek was so out of time with the rest of them that they were able to actually do something new with it, which I really appreciated because, again, I just never mess with Dalek regular episodes. So I like that this is a new Dalek episode.
I mean, yeah, and I liked the expansion on the lore because I feel like we get that for better or worse in each, like, showrunner. Mm-hmm. See, I don't really know if Daleks flew in Classic Who, but I remember watching episode 6, watching Dalek, and the minute he, like, hovers up, I was like, oh shit. I remember everybody else was like, oh shit, in the episode. So, like, it was a big moment, and then, you know, the little eye socket things were a choice, but it was an expansion of the lore. It was a choice. I won't say whether I, you know, care for them or not at this particular moment, but it was an expansion. No, I didn't, but it was an expansion of it, right? Whereas, like, so I appreciated in this case that they did an expansion, and it made sense. Like Connie was saying, like, this is such an old version of the Daleks that there could be, especially because we talk, like, they've discussed how, like, they kept changing themselves, like, over and over. So some of that stuff could have, by this point, been, like, taken out, right? So this is, like, one that's been chilling for however many centuries, and
2,000 years, I think it said, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, where it's a completely, it hasn't evolved in the same way that the Daleks that we've seen more recently have, I would say. And it actually made it, I've never been, like, afraid of Daleks. Like, I always felt like, you know, it's
a whisk
don't hate
and
them.
A plunger.
And the plunger, right. Like, I don't hate them because I know that they're, like, one, a product of their time, but they're also and, you know, it's a huge part of, like, Doctor Who history. So I don't hate them, even though a lot of their episodes have not been great, at least recently. But, like, I've never felt, like, creeped out by them. And this one, I definitely was like, holy shit.
So that's the other thing is, like, this one gave me very strong turn left vibes, and also
there's something on your back.
And also what you were saying, like, what as you were talking, I was thinking about, like, Cybermen, but not in the way that, just in the way in the terms of, like, you start to lose your humanity a bit, or what we've seen in the Cybermen where they're like, I knew what I was doing, but I couldn't, or I never felt so much hatred, or I never felt so much, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I liked that, but then I was also like, I didn't really love how strong of vibes it gave me to past things. Like, it didn't feel completely new to me. It was completely new for a Dalek, but I was like, so you just made the Dalek that spider creature from Donna, that scorpion thing on Donna's back.
I hated that thing, so I think I like this. I like this better just because I don't really like turn left and the weird thing on the back.
I love turn left.
I was just like,
I skipped turn left, so maybe that's why I was like, meh. It didn't it didn't give me that, like, oh, we've done this before. Because it gave
me the vibe, but I also was like, but I like this better. Turn left is one of those things where, like, you would think because of the, and this is slightly a tangent, but, like, you would think because of the, like, mechanics of time and the way that they're used that I would like it because it's a new way that they do it. But then it's like Dr. Light, and then they're in, like, concentration camps, and then Rose pops up, and then I'm over it.
The Rose part is really the thing, but I really love that. I mean, I don't love that it's Dr. Light, but I do love that it's Donna heavy. Like, I feel like I like that they literally give Catherine Tate, like, a spectrum of things to do and emotions to play. And so I really, because I mess with Donna and I mess with Catherine Tate. So, but yeah, I think I did really enjoy this. I did enjoy the idea of expanding, like, the lore of the Daleks, or the expansion of what they can do. But I didn't love, I guess it was mostly like, I didn't love the logistics. So it really has just, like, ruined, kind of spoiled it for me. Because literally, like, it was slow and dark, and I was sleepy.
I feel that.
Okay. Sure.
So,
I mean, I think for me, I definitely, like, I ended up watching the episode, like, the next morning, just because by the time, like, 7, 8 came along, and I knew I could watch it because like on YouTube TV it was recorded already, but I was just like, I'm not. And it was like an hour and a half, and I don't know what it is.
For YouTube TV did not fail you.
Mine worked.
Decided on it's mine. I paid for it.
Actually, I don't know if it worked because I didn't even attempt to check before I watched it in the morning.
Oh, okay.
So it might have done the same thing. But I was just, yeah, I don't know. But I think for me, like it was just that like, and I don't know why I've been annoyed by like the longer episodes in this season.
Annoyed.
I really have no idea why, but I think it's because like for the most part, it's not a big deal. But sometimes I'm just like, word. We still got, and I don't know. I can't explain it honestly because
I think it's because of what you get used to the beats, and because they're longer, it's like
a little bit like the pacing.
I'm blaming the commercial breaks. I'm blaming
and the commercial breaks are fucking weird. BBC America, fix your shit. They did the whole coming up bullshit. Stuff that no one likes.
Honestly, I'm willing to blame that on BBC America. Like because I felt like I kept having. It was like, oh, okay, this one scene. Okay, now I got to skip again. Okay, now I gotta like.
But also, I wasn't expecting this episode to be. I thought it was going to be another, quote unquote 50-minute episode, and so like it was 9:10, and it was about to wrap up, and then a twist happened, which we'll get to later, and I'm just like. It's not over? Wait, what happened? Like it's longer?
I didn't know it was gonna be an hour and a half. Yeah. I did not know that.
Like,
and
I just saw it like as I was queuing it up, I saw it and I was like, all right.
But I literally thought of you when I saw that it was 9:10 and it wasn't over yet, and I was like, oh, Diana.
I was like, okay. But I was prepared for it because I did see it before it started, but I think I honestly, because I did not dislike this episode, I don't think I've disliked any episodes of the season, but for some reason that like extra 10 minutes has been getting to me and I just can't explain it. It'll like at some point I'll be able to intellectualize
it. This one was more than that though, right?
Yeah.
This one was like this one, and I feel like a lot of the specials are this long.
Yeah, they're probably about an hour, and then with the commercials, BBC America makes it.
This one was like an hour and 10, maybe an hour and 20.
Probably like 10 because 20 minutes of commercials. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's an hour and a half on the thing. Yeah. I do think that. I would love to hear from like people in the UK,
right?
Or people who watched it without as many commercials. Because I was saying this, and Connie, I think I was telling you, like I was like, it's so disjointed. I can't. Like, why is it so disjointed? Why are the commercials? And I felt this way about the season a lot. Or a couple of the episodes of the season a lot, in which the commercials were very jarring to me, and I got lost in the story when it came back. I was like, "Wait, what? When did we get here?" And
that's also partly why I wait. I don't do commercials. But
even when I skipped the commercials, I felt like, what?
There was some kind of
where's the transition? What happened? We're in a completely new setting. Or completely like the vibe changed and I get lost. I lose the plot.
Oh.
And I'm fully willing to say that is me and I'm just dumb. But it happened a lot this year in a way that I don't think it happened before.
Maybe you just you didn't care before because everything was frustrating and you care about this year. Like maybe
I was like, I'm just confused anyway.
Right, you were
none of this shit makes sense.
Yes.
Anyway,
settled into being confused no matter what. So like you came back from commercial, everybody was confused. Now this year it's like, wait, I'm the only one confused.
Yeah.
I don't think it's obviously not a dumbness thing. Just gonna put that out there. But yeah, maybe you need to find a way to watch it without the commercials just to see, because even the act of skipping the commercials takes time away from the story.
Yeah, and I just have been lost. I guess the best way to put that.
No, I feel that.
In terms of the Dalek, the beginning of the episode has this like cool voiceover situation going on where like we flash back to the 9th century. Human beings without the Doctor defeated a Dalek and split it up and spread it around the world, and then had raised people to be an entire culture of guardians over the artifacts of the Dalek. Let's discuss that? Because how? What? Tell me more.
I mean,
And how did you not know about it, or how did they not show up in all of the times the Daleks sent?
Right.
Game.
And like how do you send your homeboy off to back home by his lonesome with his piece of Dalek, and then no one checks in to make sure that he got there?
Well, they didn't have phones.
Yeah, that part was
part of it. Like at that part, I was like, "There's how would they know?"
Yeah, they didn't know.
But like once you start your like little Guardian culture, you know, you just be like,
I don't think they were supposed to. But I also took that. I don't think that they were supposed to know where they went. They left. I don't think that they know where anyone ended up. It was just like go to as far as you think you can.
Fair.
Away from this spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In that direction.
Fair.
I mean, I think that I didn't mind the lore. I think in part because, like, again, like a lot of those. Yeah, I feel like I was like, oh, it'd be interesting to see them again, like if the Doctor went back in time and like had something with the custodians or whatever. But also that for that one, it felt to me like that's one of those things where like you pull the string and then it doesn't make. It's just a Doctor Who thing as opposed to like this glaring issue, you know?
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting. I knew it was a Dalek from like,
well, of course,
from the first little promo. I had a moment where I was like, but what if it's the Doctor? And that would have been fun. And I got everybody excited. And my fault, y'all. That wasn't on purpose. I just wanted to speculate. But then everybody was like, but what if 11 comes back? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I just got excited. But I was like pretty sure it was a Dalek from Jump. So like seeing it and it was like, okay, cool. I didn't expect it to be the actual Dalek. I think that's where.
What do you mean?
You know, like the inside, the like without his casing. I expected to be naked Dalek, and then he was just like flat on the wall, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's gross and disturbing."
Like Dalek guts.
I was like, and then homegirl touched it, and I was like, "Girl,
Lynn, what is you
go
doing?
on her own and touch it."
Also, I will say that I was so happy that she didn't turn into a half Dalek head, half human body.
Listen, I was for
that.
At
I
least
don't
10
think
minutes,
I care.
Listen, for at least 10 minutes, I was like, "Is an eye stalk going to come out of her forehead? Is an eye stalk going to come out of her forehead?"
Does that even make sense? How does the casing become the? See, now I have all these other questions that I didn't want because I don't like to think about.
When it becomes a part of your DNA, the casing is not a part of their DNA. It's just there.
I don't.
That's cool. We're gonna leave that because that's not what we're talking about.
We'll leave that in the Moffat past.
In the past.
In the Moffat past, which is a very specific timeline, the darkest timeline.
Literally the darkest timeline because you can't see anything on the screen.
White.
Speaking of Lynn and
Mitch.
Why was his name Mitch? Why was his name Mitch?
What's wrong?
It could have been short for it was short for something else.
Mitch?
Or it was just anglicized.
Mitch?
It's British people? I don't know.
What? British? Okay.
I don't know.
Listen, it's just not our culture. We need.
When she called him Mitch, I was like, who?
But I would like to point out that they're archaeologists, and I'm very sad that the Doctor no longer points and laughs at archaeologists, but also happy for them that they weren't pointed and laughed at by the Doctor. But I was sad for at least no reference to that, because there are, like, if there were anything, you know, I don't know. I don't need a River reference, but, like, because saying I point and laugh at archaeologists is a River reference without mentioning her. So, like, I would have appreciated even that, like, base level of, like, acknowledgement that the Doctor is meeting archaeologists. Because I feel like they must have mentioned, and I don't know this for sure, I could just be making this up as I'm talking, like, the Doctor not liking archaeologists is not a thing before River? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
And then, because I feel like the first time he meets archaeologists in New Who is in Silence in the Library.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, fuck y'all.
But also,
like, fuck them.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would have liked the reference, but also, like, once stuff started happening, I wasn't... Like, once they actually met the archaeologists, I wasn't even thinking about it anymore. Absolutely, but, like, when we first met them, I was like, wait, I
was like, snap, they're archaeologists. And then by the time the doctor showed up, I was like, what? It's squid!
Yeah, exactly. The little weird, squiggly thingy.
Like,
and then Homegirl wasn't returning her calls. I already knew.
Listen, although I did appreciate their cute little, New Year's.
They were cute. Cuter.
And that they didn't die. Because honestly, I was like, somebody from this couple is about to die.
They are doomed.
Yeah.
They're doomed.
But,
I will say that, like, I thought that they were cute. I thought that Lynn did a really good job. As the actress who played her did a really good job.
I mean, she had to... Like, what kind of green screening situation, tennis ball looking joint that they put on Homegirl's back to make it, like, what?
It might have been an actual prop.
Backpack.
Like, maybe.
Yeah.
Backpack prop.
Yeah, just like a rubber prop.
Homegirl had to, like, turn around and then he's just like, no, don't. Like, I don't know. God. Like, now I'm trying to think about the behind the scenes thing and it's, like, wrinkling my brain.
Yeah, it was gross, but I liked it.
Yeah. It wasn't. It was like gross in an.
It was like a Tim Shaw. It was a Tim Shaw kind of way. Where like I don't like that. I don't want this. But
I don't like no piece of Tim Shaw.
I didn't like Tim Shaw. I didn't like the Dalek on her back. It was very much like that's a good choice.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I could look at the Dalek on her back. Like I was like that's gross.
They also didn't do weird ass stuff.
I could focus on like
they did it.
Yeah, right. I could focus on like the tentacle on her shoulder. And not like the whole thing, or look at like something else. Like when Tim Shaw's ass is on the screen without his helmet on, I can't focus. I'm just like, ugh. They can stop.
Fair. They didn't show like little suction cups on the squid looking thing.
Yeah, they didn't get all like up close and make it all ugh. that trichondophobia or whatever that is. That's like I have a mild case of that whenever Tim Shaw's on the screen. I'm just like. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, poor girl, has a Dalek backpack. She just took from the city. And, so that the Dalek can rebuild itself, which I really liked the parallel of the Doctor's moment from the premiere, making the Sonic, and the lady Dalek making the Dalek casing. Because was it the same place? I think it was the same place. Because it was in Sheffield. I only say so because the I don't know what you call them, but like there were these like curtain things that were exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I'm like, was it the same? I don't know. I didn't get to rewatch this one, so I'm not sure if they make any sort of explicit reference to the whatever Sheffield metal
tower thing.
Mm-hmm. But I really loved that parallel. I was like, I love a good callback. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciated that too. I was like, oh, okay, cool. She got her little montage, even though it's for evil. That's great.
For the evils.
Montage of evil.
I also will say I like that they got rid of the plunger. And not like got rid of it. Because obviously it was a bootleg. It was like a bootleg suit, right? Like it was on the go, right? But it was like a claw. And so it made it a little bit like creepier and a little more rough, even though it's still a Dalek and they still look dumb. But it was just like, oh, I didn't have a plunger. Didn't stop by anybody's bathroom. So like, let me just have this claw thing. That works. And I think it like hit somebody's face one time or something. So like,
Yeah. I think Lauren shared a thread in our Slack about how someone was very disappointed in I think they called it the steampunk Dalek look, which, side note, Nicole has got to go. Like, she doesn't because she's great, but also she has to go because she said the Dalek was slim thick, and I was just like, why'd you have to put that into my mind? I don't
like it.
I don't understand.
I don't know what that means. So I like literally don't understand. So I'm cool.
The problem is I always think of that one Fetty Wap line where he's like, slim thick with your cute ass. I might buy you a new bag. And so then it bothers me every time.
Okay, Ryan.
Oops.
Because
y'all are such nerds. How did I end up on a Doctor Who podcast with such nerds?
Hey, I knew who Stormzy was.
Anyway, but in this thread, someone was talking about how, like, disappointed they were because, you know, like, the Dalek just made itself into a Dalek, and it could have made itself into anything. Like, I'm sure it could have kept the same pieces of, like, you know, little bumps at the bottom and the whisk gun and yada yada, but, you know, it could have been some sort of giant claw thing. It could have been some sort of, like, I don't know, like, tank-looking situation. Like, I don't know. I feel like there was... Well, this thread was saying that they felt like there were so many more things that they could have done with the exterior of a Dalek to sort of expand on the...
I think that would have been
too much. I don't think a Dalek would make itself into anything but a Dalek. Like
that, and then I also like that, and because they found they're all about eugenics and finding the purest, most superior being, and at that point they figured out that that's the shape that works for them. They don't get shot, right? Like that shit is they can't get hurt when they're in it. They, you know what I mean? Like there are all these things. It's pretty optimal. It looks silly. but for them it works. I think that like at this point too, it's like the iconic thing. If they would have changed it, like people not freaked out, but people were like at the damn Lego Daleks.
Thick ones
with the big
they were
thick. They were
with
thick.
The big booties.
That was
No, absolutely,
like,
absolutely.
People were like, "Yo, why?" And so I just felt like if they had changed, like I get it, and that's
because
true.
They already changed part of Dalek lore, like they added to it already. So I felt like they didn't want to do too much in terms of it being a standard Dalek. I just thought the thread was interesting, and the idea of like they could have given themselves legs, you know, to do stairs.
I mean, that's true. They can fly. They're like, what are stairs?
Fair.
But also, I think that like
stairs are hard.
The way that thread is worded is wrong. Like the producers could have done a lot more. But as a Dalek, like thinking like the internal logic of like a Dalek could have done anything. Like and they think that they're the best thing since sliced bread. So why would like that's exactly what it would make. Right.
Yeah. It definitely goes in with the.
I don't know very many Daleks that are suffering from body dysmorphia. I just don't think that's a thing that they struggle with. That's not their struggle.
Right. You know, people were calling it slim thick on Twitter. It's just like, I know.
Right.
But also, so slim thick is just like, it's not a person. It's a way of saying thick.
A person.
Well, because listen, if you're gonna call a Dalek thick, you gotta call the thick ones.
Right, but this
no,
one was
but she was saying
thick.
this one in particular was slim thick. Why are we even talking about
I don't know what that means.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that offline because if we get down this is just a route that I don't think we particularly need to go down today.
Don't think that terminology.
Perhaps another day. We can discuss.
It's literally what it says on the tin. Let's move on.
She's skinny yet thick.
I'm gonna just need you to Google it on your own.
Oh, the doctor and her fam.
Extended family.
Okay, this is one thing that they need to leave in season 11.
The crowded TARDIS.
Yeah, there are too many fucking people. There's too many people in the fam to make me.
We don't have the space.
Right. I think I might have made this analogy earlier. But like one of the things that like when I was watching Grey's Anatomy was when they added more people, and I was like, there's already too many cast. There's too many damn doctors in this hospital. I can't possibly care. And like I care about these 8 motherfuckers, and now you want me to care about like 5 more? No, like I'm stretching the limits of my care. Like, and I do genuinely care.
See, on Grey's,
but I can't care about anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that with the doctor, it's like I can care about these 4,
and that's already stretching my limit.
That's stretching.
Really, it's 3. It's really just 3.
It's really just 3, but you made me care about the 4th one.
Right, a little bit.
I'm upset that I have to care about him, but I do. Good job, y'all won.
I'm proud of you.
Won.
Proud of you, Robin.
I know that one. Enough.
Yeah.
Every time,
it really was a lot.
I do think it was a one-time deal.
I see it for Mitch.
So I think that, like, yes, I think the problem, though, is that, and when we've kind of run into this, it's not necessarily, like, if this had been, like, the one time or the first time that they had added 3 extra people to join the TARDIS, I don't think it would have been an issue. I think the problem is that it's happened a bunch of times through the season, and it takes away, and, like, you know, obviously some of these things, so, like, the Serenga conundrum, where it's, like, a classic, we're on this stranded ship, and there are the people who are already there on it, but then the problem is in your I don't want to say wasting time, but you're spending time on one-off characters and not spending enough time building on the characters who are around, right? So, like, we still don't get anything about Yaz, and I feel like this episode,
that we might have felt differently about that issue if we had more Yaz already. Like,
right, if we had already gotten that,
it wouldn't be a problem that we were having all these new characters, because I do think that some of the problem with previous seasons of Who is that, like, we get all these one-off characters and they spend no time with them, so then we really don't care when they, like, struggle or die and, like, their role in the story. So, like, I don't want to say they're course-correcting too much in the opposite direction, because I feel like they're spending good time with the one-off characters, but, like, Yaz did 2 things. Maybe.
Yeah. If the Serenga conundrum and if maybe Kerblam, I think Kerblam did a little bit better with Yaz, but if, like, those ones had focused on her, because and I'm saying her specifically because we have a whole lot of Ryan, which I am not complaining about, and we have a whole lot of Graham, which I am complaining about. And so I feel like with her, because we missed those opportunities in, like, earlier episodes of the actual season, then it happened here, and they're adding 3 more people and continuing Ryan's, like, they're wrapping up his final little thing from this season. Like, that's fine, but I think that it just this episode falls into the same traps that the rest of the season falls into. So in a way it fits really well, but in a way it, like, I mean, obviously this was written and filmed and all that stuff before most of the season had come out, you know what I mean? So, like, there's not much you can do to course correct in that kind of way. But it was just one of those things where everything we kind of talked about around the finale is pretty much the same kind of thoughts I was having watching it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that, like, there is something to be said about having one-off characters that are just background. Like, I'm thinking a lot about it gets a little problematic, but in Bill's season, when she's moving into that house, like, all of those people, like, we're meeting, and there are a lot of people in that episode, but they all, like, die or whatever happens.
I don't think any of them die, but they kind of disappear really quickly.
Yeah, and, like, it works for that episode. It gets problematic when we're like, oh, so Bill had friends and she was living with people, and then they just, that never happened, and then, okay. But, like, if it was just, or even the episode, the God Complex, is that the one where they're in the hotel thing?
Yeah.
And there's all those characters, and then it's like, okay, and then they leave that place. But these were also, the problem was, besides, like, Mitch and Lynn were those kind of characters where, like, you're there, you're experiencing this thing. But then it's like Ryan's dad, there's, like, a history there. And then there's all this, like, emotion and feelings. And, like, he's not the right person to, like, add to, like, 2 other people. Like, he needed, if that was going to be the person, like, if that was going to be the guest or whatever, then it should have just been him.
Yeah.
Like, they get called there, they find the Dalek or something else, but Lynn and Mitch don't have anything to do with it, or they're, like, they don't get on the TARDIS or something. Like,
yeah.
I really think it was just them getting on the TARDIS that was, like, just too far over the edge in terms of, like, there being too many people, because it's like, fine, they're in the episode, fine, they need to save her, and running around, but then they literally had to pass off the bigger on the inside moment to Yaz because there are too many people taking up the Doctor's attention inside the TARDIS.
I mean, I think too that, like, it was and they passed it to Graham when Aaron ended up on there, and I think that was one of the things for me, not in, like, a bad way, but in my head I was like, so, like, and this is a crossover reference, but, like, you'll deal. I was like, so the statute of secrecy is, like, not a thing anymore, right? Because I feel like the Doctor has often been very, like, not super secretive about having the TARDIS, but like protective
he's
and
protective of who gets on the TARDIS.
Right,
they're
and
protective of who gets on the TARDIS.
Who gets on the TARDIS? Like they're usually vetted, and like unless it's like a emergency,
Right, it's
like it's or like at the last resort, like this is the only way any of us are going to get off this exploding ship. Like sure, hop on my TARDIS, but like. And I'm not saying this as like a bad thing, because I think that could be a good kind of like differentiation between 13 and like her previous incarnations. But it was just something that I clocked in this episode, because it just felt like every minute it was a new person hopping on the ship. And I was like, word? Like that many? And you're just like, come on aboard. Like even like Ryan's dad, I was like, all right.
Which like,
that's fine.
That was the one, that was the one that was like the most annoying, because it's like, we don't mess with him. We don't like him. Why are you inviting him on the TARDIS? Don't bring him.
He can't come.
Leave him outside. Leave him outside.
He can't sit with us.
They almost fucked up, but we'll talk about that later. They almost had me all the way fucked up.
But I think too, the problem is that, and I'm kind of resigning myself to the fact that I think Graham was still going to be there next season. Like,
oh yes, for sure.
So there's too many people. Mm-hmm. 3 is too many. Mm-hmm. Having a fam is not good.
With 2.
Yeah, and like we're not getting into Bill and that other stowaway, but like the thing that worked with like the Pawns was that they were not just, it wasn't just like there were 2 of them, but they were also a unit. They were a couple. Mm-hmm. So they were kind of also one, you know?
Like, Amy and Rory in one breath.
Well, and then it was definitely Amy and Rory, you know? Mm-hmm. And like Rory was there for Amy, and Rory, like, right. Rory had things to do. Rory brought a lot to the TARDIS and brought a lot to like their trio, but like, if Amy said she was done, they were done. Like Amy was the one driving that ship, and that's not the dynamic here, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it being very different.
Yeah, which I mean, I think, and I do think it's cool that there are more like, but I think that could be 2 people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And like we said, we can visit Graham for tea, and we could like, I think it would be hilarious if it's Ryan and Yaz on the ship with the Doctor, and the Doctor just continues to like bust into Graham's house and break his chair. Yes. And he's like, really, bitch? Like, I think that would be so funny if every couple of episodes they stop by and he's like, do you, and then all of a sudden it's just like fold out chairs, because he's like, there's no point. Right. You know? Right. But like,
and then, because to go back to Amy and Rory, like, they were eventually literally the Doctor's family because of River. And so, you know, like, that's 3 people that were a part of a unit connected to the Doctor.
But also, where one River did not show up on
this, right, where River was not on the ship all the time. That would have been too much, not discount, you know, not including the fact that it's too many psychopaths on the TARDIS. But, yeah, I think that, as Robin says, it would have been great to just have Graham be chilling at home. He got left, and I was like, oh.
I was like, what is this?
Like, really?
Let's keep this energy.
I was like, okay, I'm ready for you. But then I think that it's a couple of things. Like, I think that it is possible for them to prove us wrong, and they would do that by giving Graham us
way more
than we
were
before.
Going to. Right. We tried.
So like, I think that if they course correct in the next season and really give us Yaz hardcore while also continuing to develop Ryan and Graham, like, I think that they would have to like really focus on Yaz the most. Like, it would have to be a kind of a flip. Mm-hmm. But that if they were all back for the 3rd season or whatever, and they all got like equal foot, I think they could course correct. As it stands right now, they haven't been able to figure out that balance. I think if they are able to figure out the balance in the writer's room, then it won't feel overcrowded, and adding an extra person every once in a while won't feel like, what are you doing? Whereas like in this case, it just feels like we're not getting enough time with, you know, the folks who are actually, or the one person who's actually around. We don't really know her still. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Her role was basically the same as it was in the finale.
I mean, most of the episode was just the same as the finale.
It was, because
which I'm not necessarily upset about until the end, where I'm just like, the end is exactly the same. But yeah, they're the same.
You could have written her out, and it wouldn't have changed the story.
And that's a problem.
And that's a problem.
Huge problem. speaking of Yaz, and now is the time for us to pitch our ideas. Not that it's like an original idea, because it's just the most obvious choice, but like this was the first episode of 13 mentioning Unit, which was an interesting thing, because Unit doesn't exist, and I'm sure there are so many fanboys out there who are so mad right now.
Did anyone get government
That felt
shutdown
like
vibes though? I was like,
That's exactly
they did this before. They filmed this and wrote this before we were in a government shutdown, right?
Right,
They did.
in a whole other country too. Like it's not even the same country having the
I
government
was like,
shutdown.
Brexit got them.
But that's what it is that like it was a Brexit, like some sort of not even subtle like Brexit reference of like there's not enough funding for this covert and not even really covert, but like this half covert organization. And so I found that
and
interesting.
also we're going to pretend like there are not like the part where she's like, when's the last time there was an alien? And she's like, now. Right? Like, it's not a thing that it doesn't come up on Tuesdays. It's not a ritualized
Right,
occurrence. I
can't tell you the date. Like, I'm a time traveler. It could be happening last week. I don't remember. I haven't done it yet. So I am intrigued on them setting up Unit, because I really doubt that this is like we've killed Unit. Like you could just not mention it again. You could just not mention it again, and that would be killing of Unit. Like so, like Torchwood, which I feel like disbanded in itself, but also the show literally never mentioned it again. So and that is the way in which it doesn't exist. So I feel like Unit will be back in some way. And the perfect way to address that is Yaz. Like, she wants to do more. She wants to be in charge. She's getting all this experience on the TARDIS, fighting aliens. And, like, she doesn't get a lot to do, but the things that they do give her to do are very much, like, the investigative roles, the, take charge, like, I'm telling you to do this kind of thing, or let's go over here and look at this kind of thing, which is perfect for Unit. Like we've discussed this before. It just makes the most sense. And she was standing right there when the doctor was talking about it, and I'm just like looking at her face, like waiting for them to be like to do a close up of like she's intrigued or like she's confused or curious about what the doctor's talking about. Like I was waiting for that. And they didn't give
She's going to be the new Kate Lethbridge Stewart.
Right. Like, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Kate got a new higher paying job because y'all shut down her job. She don't want to go back to Unit.
I can't go back. Though it would be great if they did bring her back in order to pass the torch. Because, and I think Delia was like, okay, but if Yaz is in Unit, she's not on the TARDIS. And I'm like, girl, no, she could, one, be a liaison. Two, if she's the new Kate came back like for 5 seasons. Like she was a recurring character. That means we get more Yaz technically. So really we're just trying to angle for more Yaz here and give her actual things to do. And I think her becoming a member of Unit would, one, solidify her Martha parallels, and two, would give her something to do that makes so much sense for her character, and like would give her ways for growth and ways to analyze who she is, like some sort of self-growth or whatever. So I really hope that that's what they were setting up there, and that we're not just like coming up with stuff that we're just seeing the pieces that they're laying down.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see.
I thought of it as like a kind of like Martha, like once Yaz leaves the TARDIS, it's a possibility. Again, I wasn't in the Slack because I was confused. But so I missed this conversation, but I when I watched the show, I was like, are they setting up when she leaves the doctor, she's going to go restart Unit.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get to see her again, even though that's not really what happened with Martha, but it should have been. And then possibly
correct that.
we get to see Yaz and Martha together.
Don't.
As Martha's
But don't do that, because we did that a lot with Bill last season, and it was...
Yeah.
Don't do it to the
hurt.
girl. Don't do it to
hurt.
me. Because then if we see Martha, we have to see her husband, Mickey. Because that's a thing.
I don't care. I know it's a thing. I still like it. I know it was a choice. I know it was like some dumb. I knew it was dumb and out of left field, but I'm still like, I'm for it. Let's do it.
And I'm not even like trying to
come
say
up out
like
of the shadow
Mickey.
of Rose Tyler.
I'm just saying like it spirals into like we see everybody, which it's the 55th. Oh right. Wow, I just realized that Doctor Who doesn't have an episode in its 55th anniversary year. Wow.
Nope.
Why?
They did it for the 50th.
But like,
Also, you don't know that. They might do a Beyonce on us. You don't know.
they might be lying.
No.
Sure.
They could totally be lying.
Yeah, they were very.
I'm not
In
trying
the
to get
age
nobody
of
post up.
Beyonce.
Nobody post up in my mentions yelling at me. I'm just saying that they could be lying. That's it.
And they
Rule
are
number one.
Rule number one, and also they. I feel like at least 2 or 3 people were like, "So what happened to no Daleks this season?" And I was like, "Now hold up," because they announced that they announced that while they were still filming, and the question I believe was, I'm not quoting perfectly, but I feel like I remember it was like, have we seen any classic villains, or will there be Daleks? And I think Chibnall was like, I haven't seen them yet.
Oh, well.
I'm pretty sure he was
I
like,
love the semantic.
it was the semantics there, and I think he was like, they haven't been on set yet. Something to that nature where it was like, And I think he said that they were filming the finale because it was at, I think, San Diego Comic-Con, and, he wasn't lying. They weren't in the season.
I don't know. We were in line.
The
We were not in the
specials,
hall.
the specials live in this world outside of the seasons, as Amazon constantly tells me.
Girl, Amazon.
And that's the other thing about YouTube TV. I was like because I was like, where is this thing?
It's separate.
And it wasn't in season 11. It was in extras. And I also couldn't get my computer to scroll. And I was like, you motherfuckers, give me the goddamn thing. What is this extras?
Yeah.
That actually did freak me out for a second. I forgot about that. When I first went in there, I was like, where's the episode?
Where's the episode?
It says it was recorded. I was like, what's happening? And then it was in extras.
Yeah.
I calmed
so
down.
I'm pretty sure the fact that the Christmas specials are technically not part of the season or New Year's special, he didn't lie when he said there were no Daleks in season 11.
The 55th anniversary would not be a season. It would be a special.
It would just be
true. Just
semantics. Just constantly vigilant.
I'm just saying.
Stay woke.
All I'm saying. That's all.
Stay woke.
Ryan rants and raves. Oh, no, wait. Before we get there, Nikish Patel, who plays Mitch, is adorable and was fucking wasted. And that's also because at the same time there were too many goddamn people on the TARDIS, so I don't know what they wanted. I don't know the solution. I don't have a solution. I just have a feel. My feel is don't give him to me and then waste him, but also there are too many goddamn people. So fix it.
Oh.
Maybe don't cast adorable people to be one of the too many goddamn people.
Just,
what up, boo?
On his
When he was all
IMDb.
When he was asking her about that kiss and then got all, it was really kissy. Oh my God.
Twas cute.
Oh. Okay.
Not like
on to our other adorable faves.
Still adorable. Still the best.
Still.
Like, it just, his face and, like, his acting and, like, he's just an attractive person. And also just, Ryan is the best. Like, so when he, first of all, they did really good casting with
his dad. For Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, they got the same nose.
I was like, is that his dad?
I was like, do I need to Google this? Like, what happened here? Yeah, no, like so that was really great. But then also, like, when they were having that conversation in the cafe and, like, he kept clenching his jaw.
You were
that was also, I really loved when the doctor, like, pops up and she's like, so the Dalek got away, and, like, both he and Yaz are, like, reacting, but he, like, covers his mouth. He's like, oh.
I missed that.
I had to rewind it because they were just like, what? And she's like, and he got away, and she's like, oh shit. It made me laugh. It was really good.
He's always doing, like, these really subtle background, like, physical things that
Ryan whenever he's in the scene, so that's
fair.
I try not to. I'll go back sometimes to make sure that, like, I caught the rest of it. But I find watching him first, and so then I catch all his reactions, and they're hilarious.
Right.
So we do get Ryan's dad who turns up, which, like, I will say, and it's like, it's one of those things where, like, you know, we spend all this time talking about, like, Yaz doesn't get enough, and she doesn't, but that doesn't mean that I don't like Ryan's storyline.
Right. I appreciate they, like, concluded this.
Right, that was, like, the last little, like,
thing left.
Thread of like, his story, which I assumed was going to get completed within the season and then didn't, and I was like, well, that's fine because we have, you know,
they're
back
more
or whatever. So, but when he did show up, I did appreciate seeing them have, like, interact, and Pop's, like, very clearly being remorseful, but not really knowing, like, how to do that and how to really apologize, and Ryan being like, yo, like, you fucked up, and at this point you might as well just say that, like, if you're gonna be here, like, let's just start with that. I
also liked that it felt like when he first shows up, Ryan is very, like, timid and doesn't really, like, he doesn't know what to say, right? Like, he doesn't want him. He, like, there's one part where he's like, I don't want him here. But he lets him in. He doesn't, like, Graham slams the door in his face. Like, Ryan does not do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that, like, I liked the idea of, like, you could see his growth and him becoming more sure of himself as they're sitting in that cafe. And he's like, no, you're not going to get to come here.
And also the callbacks to his temper, too, I felt like were really, like, not really overstated. Like, they had laced enough of, like, him having a temper problem where, like, where he gets heated, like, you knew where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just the acting, again.
But how did my friend call Aaron Hustle Man? Like, how homie gonna show up? How homie gonna show
with
up?
A microwave oven.
With a microwave oven to go... Wait, hold up. But let's start from the fact that he shows up to the apartment, I guess with the microwave just in his car, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, let's talk not here. So... it's not like they went to a restaurant where he was planning to sell the or like to pitch the microwave.
They went around the corner.
They went around the corner and he was just like, oh, we're going to a cafe. Let me just pop by my car real quick. Like, this is not like he was already planning to go to this restaurant to pitch this thing. Hey, Ryan, meet me at this place because I have business to do here. No, homie was like, let me just pop by my car real quick.
But also, if you're coming to apologize and, like,
don't be
make
selling
something. Like, take the day off. Take the hour. Like, go fix your thing.
Like, he literally tried to sell it before sitting down with Ryan to talk about how he's a problematic
And Ryan's
father.
like, yo, ain't you, like, aren't you an engineer? Like, you have, like, a...
actual job?
Like, a skill. Like, what is this?
Also, I do like that they have had that where it's like, Ryan wants to be an engineer, and it's like, that's what his dad does.
Mechanic. But yeah.
See, his writing is so good, and it makes me so mad because we don't get enough Yaz. So then I'm like back and forth between like I love Ryan and like how well they're doing with him, and then like Yaz is just getting left. It's like a weird thing. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the other things that was interesting. One, I liked that Aaron got left with Graham on top of Graham just getting left. You know what I mean? Like, when he first got left, like, I literally was like, oh, we do it? Like, I was excited, but then when I realized what was happening, I was like, okay, this is cool, too. I did feel like also this episode was one where they mentioned Grace and I wasn't actively annoyed.
Yeah.
Because it felt more organic and it felt like it wasn't about Graham. Like, it was very much about, like, it was about Ryan, but it was about Aaron. Right? And that's like that was his mom, and he didn't show up to her funeral and like all the, you know what I mean? Like, and so I felt like that conversation was important, and it wasn't one of those like, I loved your mom and blah, blah, blah. Like, it wasn't one of those. So I appreciated that. And I also felt like it was interesting to see because we got like, in the Serenga conundrum when they're dealing with, what's his name, who was pregnant. I cannot think of his name right now. But when they were dealing with him and Ryan was kind of having that epiphany about his dad and just kind of like remembering or realizing that he is human. But then when he finally sees him, not just being like, hey, Dad, like I've missed, you know what I mean? Like, he understands what may have happened, but still understands that like he's the child in the situation and what his dad did was not okay. And, you know, still demanding an apology and like in some kind of show that he's going to do better before actually believing him and forgiving him. I mean, I don't know if that's fully what happened at the very end, but at least when they had their first interaction or like conversation in the cafe, that felt like it was all there. Like there was nuance there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then they had me fucked up when they almost killed him.
Listen, okay, so
like I didn't like Aaron. Like I was all on like, yeah, Aaron needs to go, or like, you know, he seemed remorseful. Like, okay, it's not about him, right? Like I was very much like, okay, Ryan. But then when they had the thing on him, I was like, are you really going to do this again to Ryan? Like, specifically, and then on top of that, like, then you're gonna fridge another. Like, I know it's a dude, but like he's another black person, and I was just like,
you know, like
I was really sitting there. My notes literally, hold up, let me pull them up because my notes go from being like cool to being like
0 to 100 real quick.
I was like, the Dalek takes over Aaron. Word? This is stupid. Why do they keep doing this? Leave Ryan alone. Like,
which you are saying to yourself in your own notes. Got it.
That's me in my own notes. Yeah.
But the thing is that for me, I'm watching it, you know, with the commercial started at 8 on BBC America, 9:10 comes up, and I'm like, oh, because it happened like right when they were about to resolve the issue from the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was like, well, it's 9:10, the episode's over. Fool me, because homeboy comes up like help, and I'm like, wait, it's not over? What do you mean it's not over? I wasn't ready for that twist to like to just like come out of the sidelines, because I was really expecting the episode to still be 50 minutes. And so the time messed me up.
Yeah. I think that part that Connie said, like, I was like, wait, we're not done. But also, like, I felt like the doctor didn't even, like, she's like, oh, it's sucking him in too. Click, click, click. Like, what?
Right, like, how about you do something?
And then Ryan is, like, rushing towards to, like, save him. And then at that point, I was like, if they both get sucked into the thing, I'm going to throw some shit.
I was like, I quit.
I knew that was
I was about to quit the show, like, period. Like, y'all don't even know. And I don't even care about Aaron, but I was really about to quit the show.
Yeah.
Like, I was so close.
I don't think I knew it was going to go that far, but
I think the other
that
thing,
he was going to be safe, but a part of my head, like a minute, for like a half a second, I was like, if they fucking kill Ryan and his dad at the same time, so that Graham can grieve all season 12, I'm going to burn some things to the ground.
I think for me, the other thing is, like, there was two things that was coupled with the fact that, like I said before, like, I don't particularly love a lot, like, specials. Some of them I will watch and, like, they're fun and, like, whatever, but none of them are my favorite. And then also, I was trying really hard to dodge spoilers because I knew I wasn't going to watch it the night of. But I'd seen some things that were really vague that made it seem like something bad or meh was gonna go down.
Right.
And so I was cautious,
dread.
being cautious the entire time of the episode was happening. And while it was happening, I was like, well, this is great. Like, this is cool. But then also I was like, but the woman who fell to earth was really great for like 90% of the episode. Mm-hmm. So by the time that happened, I was already like, nah, fuck this. I'm done. Like, I know this season was great, but like, I can't anymore. There's only so much my emotions can take. Like, I was really like ready to just, you know,
end it all.
The uncouple from this like toxic
uncouple.
That was like where my brain was going. And then they didn't do that. And so then I was like, okay, cool. Phew, great. I love this show. It's great. It's awesome.
That's such a great like summary of the emotions that you have being a Doctor Who fan. Fuck the show. I'm never watching it again. Oh yeah, this was a great episode. This was a great season
of color.
I was like, JK, I didn't really mean it. I didn't mean it, babe.
It was a moment of weakness. You know I'd never leave you. You know you're my one and only. Yeah.
Exactly. That's basically what happened.
Yep.
You know we ride or die.
Right.
No.
Ride and ask questions, though. Ride with one eye open. Like, where you taking me? Where the GPS?
Seriously.
Quotes from the TARDIS.
Ding. Is that your intruder alert or mine? It's the doorbell.
I will say that the intruder alert sounded a lot like the doorbell. Or the doorbell sounded a lot like the intruder.
Yeah.
Sure.
So.
On purpose,
but still. Another one. Ding. No. Like,
I actually did love that. He was like, nope.
Killed me. And then like just sat down and couldn't even stop Ryan. Ryan's like, well, I'll tell him to go. And he was like, I just like he was so exhausted that exhausted him. He had to go sit down and take a nap.
Yeah. He couldn't even stop him. He was like, wait, no, Ryan, go.
Right. He was just no.
He had to emotionally prepare, you know? He had to fortify, and he was like,
how dare you just show up?
He was like, I could either fortify or I could stop him from opening the door. I need to fortify. I
don't even think he could do that. I think he was literally like, like he was already drained. The no drained him. I don't think he could weigh. I could emotionally fortify or stop him. I think he just had nothing. He was on E immediately. He saw that man's face and was like, I have to lie down.
Yeah.
Yes.
The rat. Family isn't just about DNA or a name. It's about what you do.
Oh, we didn't talk about, so that's a Graham quote to Ryan's dad, but we didn't talk about the granddad thing, which I'm still half two minds about. So, like, of the 4 times, I think it's been 4 total, maybe 5, but of most of those times, it has been very pointed. Ryan's use of granddad has been very purposefully used by Ryan to either help Graham or, like, connect with him. And I feel like there was...
At that point, it was to get back at his dad.
Right.
I thought that was very much pointed at his dad.
It was absolutely pointed at his dad. Then he said
every time he says it... But also, every time he says it, I feel like... Did he say it twice in this episode? I must have missed the last time. Because I felt like every time I've seen him say it... Okay, yeah, because I felt like that time... on the TARDIS, Graham
he was, like, heated. Right. So, like, there's definitely a second moment, because I was just, like, I was analyzing it, like, why is he... Like, what purpose is it that he's saying it? And I think it was just... That's how he calls him now. And
yeah, so we still have to let that one go.
Right, like, I was slightly disappointed in that one. And that's why I was like... Every other time, it's been so pointed where I'm like, I don't mind it as much as we dreaded it. But then he used it, like, in a... I wouldn't say casual, because, like, their lives were about to end or something similar. But I don't remember exactly what the moment was. But, like, it was very heated. He was on the TARDIS, and he was, like, shouting it. And so, like, I'm just trying to navigate how I feel. Because I feel like going into season 12 now... It's going to be Granddad Central, and... I
think it's just a thing, and I don't like it, but I think it just is what it is.
Like, I just want them to continue to avoid using it, and avoid saying him, like, avoid calling him Graham, fine. Like, don't have him refer to him in the casual. Just avoid referring to him at all until Ryan needs to say it.
Until the TARDIS lands on Graham's... dining room table.
I'm so sorry, Granddad.
My bad, Graham. Our fault.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure we talked about that because I had thoughts. And it was the perfect time for it. Anyway, the internal dimensions are bigger than the box's external dimensions. No biggie. I enjoy that they're still finding new ways to say that same sentence. And I also do enjoy that Yaz, with literally her one moment this episode, was to introduce someone to the TARDIS.
And to, like, take their information and call them in the morning.
Right. It was a very, like, she has all of her little cop, like...
Yeah. Right. It was like, Yaz will see you out. It's their cave. It's their hole. What are you talking about? Now, must remember, how long's a rail?
Great question.
It's a good question, but also, like, you're supposed to know this.
Right?
Listen, it's in the back of her mind somewhere. She's got a lot of things to sort through.
I didn't hate it. I loved it a lot. It was just also, it was one of those, like, girl, but also, like, I love that about her, that she's like, I'm not keeping this information. It's there. It'll come to me, but I'm not, like, actively searching for it.
Right. Like, I don't have time for that right now. I have other things to do. But if my brain wants to provide that fact for me, any second now would be great.
Right. Like that moment when she was talking to the, what's it called? In the last episode, and she was like,
the frog?
No, never the frog. Or she was the two, and she was like, and oh, I forgot. And then she just like moved on. Like, I
Right.
just love that she's like, it'll, whatever. It'll be there
Whenever it
later,
comes
maybe.
to me.
The doctor has ADD.
And she's
Yay, I feel
she's
so
just like,
seen.
it's great. Oh, you're good, Ryan's dad. You're almost making up for your parenting deficit.
Listen, the doctor
Like-
was like, I'm not here for you. You failed
She
him.
came hard.
Listen, she was
So
like, this
hard.
is my fam. I'm protecting them. The honey badger of Hufflepuff
The honey
13
badger
came
Yep.
a-roaring. A-roaring.
She said, oh, you're Ryan's dad. You weren't at Grace's funeral. I was like, the first thing she said to him.
But she like rolled up on him though.
Mhm.
Rolled
She was like,
up.
"Where were you? You should have been there."
It's like,
I have this.
He's-
don't.
and he's
don't
like, I
worry
don't even
about
know who you
your
are.
tube I have flung around my shoulder.
but like, let's pause and think about it from our black perspective. Your son is hanging around all these white people, and this white woman rolls up to you like, you weren't there at his funeral. And I'm just curious about what he thought about that.
I would have been like, who are you?
It's like, I just wanted to...
I was thinking about that too because I was like, I wonder if he thinks that like Ryan been hanging out with all these white folk and he getting slick.
Right.
But then I was like, but you're also a deadbeat, so like Ryan can say
like,
whatever
he
the hell he
doesn't
wants.
have...
Right, like there was a moment where he got mad, like, oh, that's how you talk to your dad? He was like, I don't know.
Right.
This episode had a lot of burns.
Haven't had a dad. Like, it was
Yeah,
like,
this episode had a lot of good clapbacks.
it did.
And then before we like go to our like final things, I feel like I mentioned it briefly, but the end of this episode was exactly the same as the end of the finale. Like, Team TARDIS goes into the TARDIS, and the doctor's like, where are we gonna go? Anywhere. Let's travel. And I was just like, we literally just did this.
It should have said, where we gonna go? Yaz's house.
Right.
Still ain't got that before.
Right.
Right.
So I was just slightly I overall liked the episode, but I was slightly disappointed that these end. And like, as we discussed earlier, like a lot of the beats were similar, but like that end was literally the same thing of the TARDIS dissolving.
Mm-hmm.
And for us to have to wait so long, possibly, I'm not trying to hold on to hope now that Bayana's
Don't
mentioned
do it. I didn't. I'm just saying.
Planted the seed.
I didn't say. I'm just saying.
You've planted the seed of hope, and as a Hufflepuff myself, those seeds grow very quickly. So
It's not my fault. I mean, as Michael Scott once said, I would like all of the credit and none of the blame.
So there's that. Yeah. So that's the last one, the first and last episode of 2019 that we are currently aware of. Thank you for enjoying and enduring this ride of season 11 with us. It's been fun. Like, we actually had fun this time. Like, we weren't like
It was
raging
actually
at the
fun.
end of the season.
I can't wait to go back. I like kind of really. I've been I haven't done it.
I don't listen to
But I
myself.
kind of want to go back and listen to season 10 and then listen to season 11 because I feel like.
I mean, yeah,
I
maybe.
can appreciate the highs without the lows. I feel like I will get myself mad all over again, but I want to hear. Like, maybe I'll just hear. I'll listen to the Christmas special, the Kwanzaa special last year, and then this one.
Oh yeah, because that one, I'm pretty sure we were confused the whole time, and Gaddis was annoying.
Yeah,
that's all I
It
remember.
was mostly just raging about Gaddis and the first Doctor being racist and sexist.
And I know a thing or two about women. Hee hee ha ha.
Oh, how far we've come.
So check us out at blackgirlscreate.org. Follow us on Twitter at WeBlackandNerds. Use the hashtag Tarbus to join and start conversations about Doctor Who. Join our Slack if you would like to, where we have a channel dedicated to conversations about Doctor Who. It gets
Lots of them.
Apparently, we start calling Daleks slim thick, which I still need to look up because I don't know what that means.
He did not do anything. I will not take the credit for that one. Rate and review us on iTunes and wherever podcasts are found.
Harvest is part of Hard Knock Media. We've joined the Nerds of Color podcast network, including the podcast Hard Knock Life, Southern Fried Asian, DC TV Classics, Axe Spy Girls, Daisy Geek Girls, We're Not All Ninjas, and That Moment. You can check out all these podcasts at hardknockmedia.com. Hard NOC.
Thank you for listening. I would say we'll be back soon. We hope. If not, we'll be back in a year. I mean, we'll be back before then.
Time is relative, you
Time
know.
is relative, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Jeremy Barabee.
Jeremy Barabee.
If
We
you
will see you next time.
ideas for things you'd like us to talk about in the hiatus, we will read them.
Entertain them. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some, but like
You know.
more is always good.
Yeah, just let us know what you'd like to hear most from us. Talk to us about Doctor Who on the socials, because we love doing that. Invite us to your conventions. Honestly. Not that I think
I've never
anyone
been
running
to
a
a Doctor
con.
Who convention.
Not that I think that anyone running a con listens to our podcast, but if you do,
they should.
We are open to traveling, to visiting. Some of our Slack friends are Whovian Connors. So yeah, hopefully something like that happens in this year as well, and we can see some of our Whovian friends in person.
Constance.
You know,
Speak it into existence,
which is a very Doctor Who thing to do.
Manifest, you know.
And on
the
that
first week of January
note, we'll see ya
Bye.
when we see ya.
The black girls have the box.